up, nerds? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Maddie if you're new here. I hope your day is going well. So, this is Split or Swallow Part 2. I have been meaning to get this to you guys for weeks. I actually filmed the entirety of it, and the mic that I had, as I told you guys, decided to just stop working. Lovely for me. Super great. Loved it. It basically distorted the audio entirely, ruining the footage as well. So, we are now using this mic. Hopefully it works better. You don't need a comment about how it works. I just need you to know what I'm saying. That's the point of the video. So we're going to go ahead and go through the script for this book very quickly because I've already done this video and I've actually tired of talking about this book. So we're going to go ahead and just move right along, shall we? As I said, this is a part 2. You will be confused if you stay here and don't go and watch the first video in this series. But if you want to stay, that's totally your prerogative. So where were we? Oh yeah, she was about to boink his dad. But we do have to do a little bit of backtracking because that ending, that cliffhanger on the video was just too good. And I did kind of move over some chapters a little quickly to just get to that part for you guys. I have to do some build up before we can get to the you gotta get with my friends, I mean my father bit. So we're gonna start off with where we left off on the Prince Leo storyline. And once again, he's not an interesting character, and I am going to probably brush over a lot of this because this video will most likely be shorter because I filmed like an hour and 45 minutes of footage the last time I filmed this, and we're not doing that today, so just so you know. So between the magical claw dildo and the menial chores that Temperance has to deal with every day, there is another festival she has to go to, and she's dreading it. She couldn't decide which was worse, getting eliminated from the competition and having to tell her mother she failed, or staying in the competition and kissing Leo in front of the entire village. There were no good options here. I really don't think Temperance understands the gravity of like not having money or not having chicken eggs, because she's a chicken farmer. But upon going to the festival, she finds out no one gets eliminated at all anyway, so who gives a Though the mead is free because the king is sponsoring it, and she gets, 10 toes down in that mead prior to Prince Leo and the king showing up at all, which seems strange if they're hosting the event. And she feels bad for Leo because he looks sad. So all 7 girls that are still in the Bachelorette competition that we have going on as the backdrop of this stupid damn book, all 7 of them have to go up onto the stage and kiss Leo in front of the town, which obviously he gets to Temperance last, but by the time that he gets to her, everyone's hyped up and horny watching him coerce these women into this clearly unconsensual or forced consent situation, and he kisses Temperance more passionately than all the others. This leads to another strange interaction with Temperance and her mother. There's a part of the author's note where she really thanks her parents for how they raised her. And I just have questions because Temperance just feels like she doesn't like her maternal parental figure at all prior to information that we will come to find out in this video. So she ends up going with the gay best friend to the tavern and has another couple of drinks, even though she's had, I think, 10 meads at this point. Girl has stamina despite being skin and bones. And guess who shows up at the fucking tavern? The prince. Despite being the heir to the throne, this guy just saunters on up and starts slumming it with the peasants. When I wrote this script, it was very closely after Elon Musk started taking over our government. So I put here that it's not as weird as an illegal immigrant just walking around on the White House lawn like he owns it. And that's still kind of true, but also things have gotten worse and somehow better because he's seemingly not constantly present within our main governmental structures. So that's nice. Books are political. And once again, Leo and Temperance have another flirty banter thing that leaves me feeling as dry as the Gobi Desert, but that's just, neither here nor there. And as they are leaving the tavern, they run into the king, which makes sense, I guess. If you're trying to say that, the royal family is just always just in the town all the time, despite they have, a gold filigreed castle that they could be in. And he's like, why are you fraternizing with this chicken girl? And Leo is like, her name is Temperance, and she's gonna be my wife, so you need to be nice to her. Bear in mind, he has not proposed. There is still a competition with other women. So off, and Temperance and Leo start having a moment. And that moment is actually quite nice until it's ruined by Temperance going, I'm not gonna you. And then a few pages later, they try to, but then, right when Leo's starts just touching up on her lady bits, Tim's mind erupts in agony. It was if someone was splitting her head in two with a blunt axe. Oh, are you wondering who could possibly be doing this to her? I wonder who it could be. It's Caspin, the guy that previously caused her to have, like, mental pain. He's creating this, like, agony inside of her skull, despite the fact that his job, J-O-B, was to train her to have sex with this very guy. What I do find funny is that Leo holds her, tries to comfort her while she's going through this pain, and then still continues to try to get his mac on even though she's in pain. And on top of that, Temperance loves both of these men, despite the fact that clearly Caspin wants to cause her intense pain, and if she's daring to have any kind of relations with the man she's supposed to be dating right now. And then on the flip side, Leo wants to keep her safe, but also doesn't care if he's not getting his dick wet. Free my sisters from the shackles of mediocre fictional men. Now we're flashing forward back to where we were, and Temperance is rightly mad at Caspin for causing her a migraine while she was trying to get her mac on. And then Caspin's like, well, we're engaged. And she's like, huh? And he's like, yeah, you have to my dad. And she's down. She does call it barbaric, though, which is one of the many times she does ostracize and other Caspin's people, because very clearly they are coded as an indigenous population that is uncivilized and savage and sexualized. And it is interesting that she kind of says that she wants to do it solely because she believes Caspin doesn't think she can, which is weird. And the reasoning for this ritual is that the basilisk values sex above all else, and the king got his position through sex, which doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but okay. Tem is over here thinking, there was no way she could do this. No way she could mount the father the same way she mounts the son. What in the Alabama? But right after this is where Caspin says that his people have been missing for centuries, which doesn't make a lot of sense, because if that's the case, how is she supposed to bounce on his dad's like a pogo stick? But they know why they've been missing, and that's because their blood turns into gold, remember? His blood is gold and his cum is boba. That turns into vibrators. The perfect man. But as I said, there is the gold filigreed castle, so pretty much everyone is aware that the royal family has been capturing basilisks to bloodlet them to use their gold to keep up their wealth. And that's why Leo has the fangs that are gold, because they have been using the gold as ritualistic in the world. And apparently this has been happening for centuries. And we're not going to actually unpack the war crimes that are being described right now, because that's not what this book is for. This book is for titillation. It's for masturbatory reasons. And I just find it pretty disgusting and vile that is something that people seem to have no interest in understanding where these ideas come from, because you're basically saying an indigenous population has been not even enslaved, literally just demeaned to a bodily fluid for gain. And that is so, you're not even gonna think about it a little bit, like just a little bit. I'm not even trying to be intellectual here. Like, this is clearly disturbing, and it's not for some reason treated as harshly as it should be. Temperance and Caspin have already moved on because they're having sex again, and Temperance wants to make him feel as bad as he made her. Healthy! I just think you should not try to inflict pain on your partner because that person has hurt you. If that person has hurt you, you should discuss, hey, you've hurt me, I'm going to try and heal from that. That's either going to be with you, where you promise to not do that again, and if you do that again, we are not going to be together, or you heal on your own. That's it. But then again, a lot of women that look like me voted for the despicable human being running my country right now, so I guess maybe we just have to reap what we sow. So let's talk about the scene where the prince is trying to address a crowd of the townsfolk And the townsfolk are mad because 2 guys got turned to stone, which is the basilisk's MO, and nothing has been done about it. And considering that's not a good thing, the townsfolk start rushing the stage. Very January 6th vibes, if you get my drift. Temperance is watching this situation happen, and she's telepathically communicating with Caspin about the fact that he started a war, and he doesn't give a singular shit. Because why would he, I guess? I'm a little confused why the townsfolk would go after their leaders and not, I don't know, the basilisks, but considering the current state of my political climate in my country. But upon returning home, who should show up but Prince Leo? He's like the worst kind of jack-in-the-box. Whack-a-mole. Like, he just pops up everywhere he shouldn't be, especially during a peasant revolt. Leo's like, I gotta make sure that you're okay, and Timorous is like, give me that baddie. Give me that baddie, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but of course this book is not supposed to make sense. It's supposed to be titillating, as we know. But I am dissecting it like it's a frog, and I'm in biology, because that's what I do here. You guys like it. I'm miserable. I don't want to be doing this anymore, but we are. Doing this indeed. After she ends up sending him away, they don't actually do anything. She tells Caspin that she's ready to his dad. Here's the thing, not only does she have to diddle his father, she has to do it in front of his whole tribe, including Caspin. She has to ride on top of his dad to indicate that it's consensual, and Caspin has to watch to make sure that his dad's hands don't roam. Bear in mind, we never really have a conversation with the dad. I don't really think he has any real input on the narrative, but that's just neither here nor there. But wait, there's more! And so not only does she have to f*** his father in front of the whole crowd of basilisks, she has to then go and Caspin in front of the rest of them. It's like their honeymoon, and they have to just keep doing it. And even though she's already past the ritual part of the dad and making the dad come, she has to make sure that she's pleasing and making them enjoy watching her fuck his son, because otherwise she could still fail this ritual. It's got more hoops than the DMV, or more hoops than how to let married women vote in this country, which just seems to be a more stupid way to disenfranchise people in this country. I'm not doing great, so I hope you guys enjoy this. There's going to be a longer version on Patreon if I didn't already mention that at the beginning of the video, which I might have to because I didn't mention it in this round. Moving on. So they end up going to where this ritual is happening, right? It hasn't happened yet. This is them just describing what's going to happen. And she ends up finding out that the basilisks are nudists, and this really grosses her out, and she says it's really disrespectful for them to think that she should take off her clothes. And Caspin has to be like, you do know, A, we're a different species, and B, this isn't our real form. We're not humans. We're snake people. Like, why are you being so goddamn insensitive when you did make a plan on marrying into this culture? There's also a random, like, fight on TikTok that keeps coming up on my YP that's, like, the white women that are appropriating Indian culture, and apparently one white woman told another white woman that she was stealing her niche, which was apparently white women stealing Indian culture, which I just think is funny. And Temperance is exactly that type of white woman. Just saying. And the thing is not only do they have to public, but they also have to do it in this giant statue of Cora, which is their goddess of fertility. But bear in mind, it's the humans' goddess of fertility. They have converted so many of the basilisks into this religion that they now have it linked to their sex rituals, which does not make sense. And considering the lack of effort into the world building in this book, I'm just assuming the author didn't realize that indigenous people would not worship the same gods as their oppressors. But I know for a fact she doesn't believe this is an oppressed versus oppressor relationship, because that's not the theme that she was really thinking she was unpacking here. She thought she was just writing a little sexy, schmutty novel, and she ended up writing something that is pretty disturbing. But just then, the Serpent King arrives. And then Temperance, after feeling all warm and tingly, seeing her beau's dad show up, like, she gets horny. She literally thinks, at this point, Tim was no longer a stranger to cock. She has seen two. She's seen 2 penises. 2 peni. If being not a stranger to cocks after seeing 2 penises I don't know what I'm considered. Remember when we started this book and the biggest deal was that she was a virgin? So she ends up doing it with the dad, and it's really nothing to write home about. It doesn't feel like it's really all that, momentous of an occasion, but she did such a good job. She turns around and all of the other basilisks are fucking too. Kind of like that extremely gross racial stereotype of the Dothraki wedding where all of the random times that people were fucking at the wedding. But the thing is about that scene is that was supposed to showcase to you how the Targaryens viewed the Dothraki. They are supposed to be racist characters, and obviously Daenerys just doesn't know what's happening anymore. Whereas in this scene, she's supposed to want to be a part of this culture, but she doesn't want to understand it, and she views them so disgustingly. She does not view the sex that they're having as something that's healthy or normal for their culture. She views it in her incredibly puritanical way that it should be shameful for them to feel this kind of emotion and then have an orgy. Like, it's so stupid. So after she does the devil's tango with the dad, she ends up going to another room and starts having the more of the tango with Caspian. And she's getting pushed to the limits again. She's just going, she's telling him that she wants to keep going, and then she breaks her fucking pelvis on his. And this is the reason that my Discord dubbed this the most cursed book in existence. Because what do you mean she did what? And so when she's like, writhing in pain, she begs him to take the pain away because he can take random sensations away from her body. Naturally, he does it, even though the last time this happened, where he took her libido away, she was very mad and told him not to do that again. But, of course, now that she broke her fucking pelvis, we've got to use the MacGuffin of him being able to just take away her pain magically. And then she wakes up and asks if she was enough. She did a good job. Ma'am, he split you like bananas and ice cream. I think this deserves a level of going above the call of duty. And having a, mind-meldingly traumatic interaction physically. So she ends up having this weird retcon situation where, despite the fact that it would have been very easy to just go back and rewrite this situation happening, she starts remembering stuff after she woke up. It's very strange, but she remembers seeing another female basilisk, and for some reason she just clocks this one random woman for some reason, and she's like, I remember seeing this person while I was blacked out, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but we're gonna have to run with it because this book doesn't make any sense. And so she clocks this random bitch and then realizes that this random bitch was looking at her man. So she knows somehow, after blacking out and coming to after she had her pelvis broken, that this woman at some point slept with Caspian. It's like when you have a dream about your man doing something stupid and he's in trouble when you wake up, but except this is somehow she deduced that this woman had slept with him. Who cares? I don't, that's for sure. But apparently I have to make this video for you guys because I have to. Here's the thing. She's so irrationally angry that he could have possibly slept with someone else, even though it was his job to sleep with the women that would become the queen of her country. I don't understand where this accent came from. But we don't have time to unpack any of that because we have a truth bomb incoming that you're not prepared for. I wasn't prepared for. I'm really confused. Caspi knows her dad. Temperance doesn't have a dad. We've only met her mother, but apparently she's never known her dad. He hasn't been important until now. Apparently he's just been missing in action, and he's one of the basilisks that have been up there being bloodlet by the royal family that nobody seems to be doing anything about. Cool. But that would mean that Temperance is a hybrid. It's a stupid. It feels like it's trying to be that, like, werewolf vampire hybrid in Vampire Diaries, but it's just not. I had an alarm set apparently. It's just not interesting enough. It just doesn't work. What? Stop it. This book could be literally 200 pages, and I probably would have little to no problem with it if it was just erotica. But it's trying to have these political elements, and then on top of that, like, intrigue and reveals that she's a hybrid, but we never actually get any interesting world building about that or any character development. She goes home and yells at her mom for not having told her that she's a hybrid, because apparently her mom was the one that ran off with her basilisk in the earlier competition. Okay. And then she takes a stroll, and guess who she should find? Leo. Because of course she does. Why are you just always around, sir? I really wish it was this easy to just randomly run into a government official because, oh my god, I would literally... And then there's another emotional scene between Leo and Temperance that is more, like, emotional than anything Castman and Temperance has had up to this point. Leo's like, I can tell you're not happy and I want you to be happy. And then Temperance is like, I'll accept your wedding or your marriage invitation or your proposal, whatever that is. Even though it doesn't matter, like, we still have pages and, like, maybe 100 pages to go of the book, and oh my god, I gotta keep going. So she's trying to reconcile the fact that Leo is part of this royal family that is committing war crimes against the family, or the people that she just married into, technically speaking. And here's the thing, just because Leo is nice to her doesn't mean that he's not complicit in the crimes of his family. I don't know why that's so hard to understand for people. Like, if just because he's not mean to you doesn't mean he's not a bad person, you know? Like, why can't we figure shit out like this on our own? Why do I have to spell it out for people? But then, telepathically, Caspian cockblocks them again and is like, my quiver has made a decision about the ritual. The Drakens have given their blessing. When your in-laws have the potentiality of telling you that you fuck real good. Ooh. Ah. So despite the fact that she's accepted 2 different marriage proposals in the span of 24 hours, Temperance still doesn't know who she's going to choose. She must be a Libra. Shots fired. But on the carriage ride home from wherever she walked to, she does give Leo a titty job, so there's that. Flashing through time and space like season 8 of Game of Thrones, she's back now at the caves with Caspian, and she's like, you gave your buddy to someone else, did you not? So despite the fact that she's being trained to sleep with someone else, he apparently can't have had any other relationships outside of her, and she's still thinking about that bitch. Yeah, we're back to her. The other woman she saw while she was unconscious, because that makes sense. So he basically says, like, yeah, I had girlfriends before you, but my body and soul belongs to you. But she can still around with Leo, apparently, which definitely feels like poly couples where one of them is closed, and you just know there's gonna be problems with that. Like, I will most likely at some point make a video specifically on how romantasy books try to flirt with the concept of polyamory and do it so damn badly, and this one will be one of the ones we talk about because there was a little, like, snapshot scene where at the end of the book that she included that was inspired by the movie Challengers, and I will not be reading it because I couldn't literally stomach any more of the book that I've already read. And Challengers is one of my favorite movies, and it's really disrespectful to try and use your puritanical viewpoints on sex to try and reproduce a movie that you clearly could not have, like, rationalized anything to do with the actual context of polyamory. I don't know what I'm talking about. This isn't part of the script. We're gonna move on. I'm only 15 pages in. Are you serious? Okay, we're gonna take a break.
Many hours later.
Hi, so yeah, change of scenery. It's been a minute. I can't function very well today. Owning a uterus should come with hazard pay. Look, we have friends joining us for this one. But I wanted to finish this video for you because it's been taking me far too long to actually get around to getting to finishing this video for you. So that's what we're gonna do today. I do apologize. You're probably gonna be hearing my air conditioner just chug along in the background. And clearly this is not standard practice for my channel, but considering the fact that most people have probably already clicked off the video and don't even know that this is happening, who cares? If you are still here, put something crazy like the goose is loose in the Vatican in the comments for me. That would be great. Caspian and Temperance had this whole fight about how he apparently had a girlfriend at some point, and she's like, you are never allowed to have had sex with anyone else even though that's your job. But we can't wait on that very long. We have to keep moving. And so now we got to go to the council to decide the fate of the ritual, even though technically speaking the whole decision was supposed to be on if she just looked good or not. I don't know. But this is where we find out that there's another aspect of this role that Temperance is going to be playing, because she's technically marrying a sovereign person in this culture. Considering the fact that it's clear that the author never thought about trying to create an actual culture for the basilisks and just kind of appropriated random things to make them different and savage. I'm not really surprised that not only is this scene very out of left field again, the entire time Temperance is incredibly horny through it. In this moment, Temperance agrees to become part of a plot to take down the human royal family, which is really skimmed over in context because she's already starting to have feelings for Leo, but she basically decides that she wants to get revenge or free the basilisks. It's not really clear what she decides because right after this, they decide to honor her by doing something that's similar to the way that humans kiss their sovereign rings, but they're not going to kiss Temperance's ring. They're going to kiss something else. They're going to kiss her clitoris. Here's the thing. We've already had this group orgy situation, and now why not we just add another on top of it, like where strangers are kissing her, but she was just mad about her man even looking at another. And then the guy that's been antagonizing both Temperance and Caspian, Ro, who is apparently part of another Draken family, he comes up and starts getting jiggy with it. You know, it's not just a kiss, it's a whole kit and caboodle action, if you know what I'm saying. And then because she's reacting to it, Caspian is like, do it again, she likes that. As if he's like trying to make the guy who's currently eating his girlfriend's snatch the cuck in this situation. I don't get it. So Ro ends up calling Temperance a blunt, which, because this is a bad author, there is never any explanation of what this term is coming up to it, and it's basically a slur type word for humans because they have blunt teeth, they don't have fangs, which I'm sorry, I don't think that's all that interesting, and honestly I thought we were talking about like weed for a second, to be honest. And then on top of that, like, blunt isn't offensive. Like, if we're going to talk about the turf who must not be named, mudblood is a very clear slur. It's like literally describing the blood of someone who was born from humans as to be muddy. Blunt teeth? Really? That's what we're going to be worried about? Okay. It's just boring and lazy writing. Do better. After being publicly dominated by Caspian to like eat his girlfriend's snatch in front of everybody, Ro doesn't take that well, surprisingly. He accosts Temperance, does the thing where he tries to claim her because apparently no one understands consent in this place, and then finds out that she ended up doing the smoke kissy thing with Caspian, so he can't claim her. It doesn't make sense. Don't try and even understand it. It just doesn't make sense. Rightly, Temperance is a little put off by this situation, and Caspian's like, I've gotta kill him. And she's like, okay, whoa, slow down, maybe not. Because again, she's got to be the goody two-shoes. She's got to protect all of the men, even though they're like rightfully like being bad. Like, I'm sorry about the cats. This is just gonna have to be the way that we do this because I'm literally in so much pain that I just cannot function. But then because once again there is no pacing at all in this book, things just start happening. She ends up going home. She gets another invitation to a ball because of course she does. Upon receiving this invitation, she does remember the last time she was with Leo in the carriage where she gave him a titty job, and she gets all hot and bothered, and then remembers that she's gonna help the basilisk take down his family. You tell that there is no cohesion in this at all. Girl does not have her priorities straight. And despite the fact that she has that little excitement flutter about the ball, she goes and has more cave sex with Caspian. The sex scenes are incredibly boring. They're repetitive, and they don't do anything for me at all, so I don't really understand why we kept talking about how, like, you needed a, like, bucket and a mop for these scenes, because no. I think figures out something to do with her, like, beast form, but we never really see it. It never really gets described because descriptions are not this author's forte. I don't think there is anything that is this author's forte except writing really gross, puritanical, shaming around sex, and also incredibly bad sex scenes. That's pretty much it. So they end up traipsing through these caves, which I just thought was like a little area for Caspian to do his shenanigans for the whole bachelor situation. No, apparently this is where the basilisks live, which is gross, like give them actual homes. I don't know if they want modern technology. I don't know what modern technology is in this world because we just don't know that. But yeah, apparently they do live in caves, so they're wandering around the caves and they run into Ro, who's apparently naked because that's just the way that they run things. But he's missing his crown jewels. A warped mound of scar tissue protruded between his legs as if it had been ripped off instead of severed. Her man literally snatched off this guy's genitalia for having a disagreement with him. Ro wasn't a good guy, don't get me wrong, but mutilation seems like a heavy jump there, don't you think? And like most books in this genre, we don't see him do this because tell me how you make literally seeing the guy that you have been rip off this dude's dick as if it's like putty or something. Like, I'm sorry, that would be... First of all, it would be a very interesting scene to try and see this person right. Second of all, it might make him seem like a bad guy. Whoa, that's crazy. Temperance does think it's hot that her man mutilated someone, but she does think he went a touch too far. But they don't even really discuss it. By the next page, they're having more sex and telling each other that they're in love. It was a blink and you miss it removal. I haven't read the script in a while, if you can't tell. Rinse and repeat. She leaves the caves. She goes and meets up with Gabriel, the GBF, and it's a useless conversation that I don't have much notes on. Apparently, we also learned that the king could probably bar her from marrying Leo, and like, she needs to marry Leo to put the whole kill the royal family plan into action, so to speak. But we didn't know that he could actually stop her from marrying Leo until this moment, even though, like, he's the king. He could probably do anything he wants, because that's how monarchies work. Also, that's kind of how fascist dictators work. Monarchs have the power. Back with Caspi, and they're doing some sexy snake dances, and then all of a sudden they're both having that migraine attack, because apparently Ro didn't like having his cut off. Who would have thought? Despite the fact that they knew he was gonna be bad, they did nothing to take any kind of precaution for this exact thing. It's like when racist white people say bad shit on the internet and then they are surprised about consequences. But the biggest difference here is the marginalized community can seemingly create mental attacks against their oppressors, and I don't know about you, but I would definitely be making use of that skill right about now. Elon Musk donate all of his Tesla stock to a fucking trans organization, lickety split. While they're being attacked, Miss Thang is like, crest me, which is that weird mental thing that basilisks can do, that basically strip away their entire power, or their agency. I don't know, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It reads a little bit like a Cirebon from Vampire Diaries, but bad, and not in the sense that, like, it was a good thing in Vampire Diaries, but like it's badly written here. Like it just doesn't make sense here. So he's like, no, I can't do that. And she's like, yes, you can. No, I can't do that. Yes, you can. Bear in mind, they're supposed to be in agony right now because they're being fucking attacked. But they can have this whole conversation as if that isn't happening. And it just leads me to believe that this author just wrote as many words as possible to just spill up as much pages as possible on the Kindle book. And now this book is traditionally published. Like, are we reading things before we put them out in the world? Like, I don't understand. It's just a gross misuse of your audience, in my personal opinion. So he ends up doing this, and it's like he becomes super powered afterwards. I don't know why. We don't really care. I haven't read this book in a while, and I just need to get through this script. Temperance once again steps in between her violent man and another violent man because apparently she has zero self-preservation skills at all. She pleads with him to stop because apparently he has siblings that we've never met and or heard of, and he is like, oh yeah, I guess you're right, I'll do anything you say, but he had just basically threatened her to get out of his way. So like, what happens when he doesn't actually listen to you and actually acts on the threat of violence against you? Apparently, like, killing Ro would be an act of war, but I'm a little confused why removing his genitalia wasn't an act of war, because, like, what the fuck? Really, like, peak romantasy bullshit when he's like, do not force me to be something that I'm not, and then, like, 10 seconds later, he's totally cool with it, because, like, it's supposed to be this, like, uncontrollable savage man fantasy where the only person that he listens to is the tiny, meek white woman. Because he's based in a violent, barbaric beast, and only through the power of traditional white pure pussy can his barbarism be quelled. Fucking bars. And when he promptly releases Ro on her command, she fucking passes out again because, once again, that's like the transition for romantasy books. Oh, we don't know how to get to the next scene? Let's just have the main character pass out because apparently we're all fucking anemic and don't have enough calories to keep ourselves standing. So upon waking up, she hears a man and a woman arguing over her, I'm guessing, horizontal fucking body. And one of them is Caspian, and he's clearly making derogatory remarks towards the woman that he is having a conversation with. This woman is clearly trying to take care of his hybrid girlfriend. And he is accusing her of lying to him about her health because he thinks that she has some kind of reason to want the hybrid girl dead. This is his ex-girlfriend. Everyone clap! Yay, another useless character. This is Adelaide. I know, it's close. It's very close. And he treats this woman like absolute dog shit. Like, it is, you guys need to, I don't know what it is about people who read these books, but you guys need to be normal about people having exes. It's fucking normal. Oh my god. Have some sense of self-confidence that that person is now with you and not with the other person. Jesus Christ. And the one thing is that I know that I value compersion, which is basically feeling excited for your partner rather than jealous. And jealousy to me has no room in romantic relationships. It's an honest feeling. You can feel jealousy at times, but being romantic around jealousy and finding toxicity like that romantic is inherently unhealthy, and I don't care what your opinion is on that. It just is. And I know that some, in 2025, straight people think that it's hot to be weirdly obsessive and protective over your person. But a person isn't a possession, and you don't get to control what that person has done in their previous, their past, pre-you. And yeah, speaking of which, my boyfriend just texted me. Prince is now fully awake, and they're trying to figure out if she has this crest, this bond or whatever. And basically it's supposed to be that she just follows everything he says, right? And so he tells her to shut up. Boyfriend of the year, y'all. But it doesn't stick, and she just immediately starts talking again. And then after that, there really isn't anything to do with the crest. It doesn't seem to me that it does anything, and it seems pretty fucking useless, if you ask me. We're gonna move on. Adelaide, by the way, is still in the room, and she's like, okay, bye, I don't want to talk to either of you ever again. And then Temperance is like, oh no, you know about hybrids. When has this been established? Never. I don't know what could possibly have prompted her to ask this question, but she does. And for some reason, Adelaide stays and is like, yeah, I know stuff about hybrids. Why does she know stuff about hybrids? I don't know. Everybody thought it was a myth. But now we have an expert in the chat. Why? Because the author can't write anything to save her life. So here's the thing. Despite the fact that there was a ritual about humans marrying into the culture of the basilisks, Adelaide says that it's actually paradoxical for them to even be together because basilisks and humans are predator versus prey, which is weird if you think about it, because technically the humans are currently their oppressors. White people just want to be oppressed so bad. It doesn't make sense for them to be predator and prey if they're fucking. And this is where Adelaide up and mentions that she and Mr. Boothang were once engaged. And let me tell you how Timmy takes that. Badly! She actually takes it so fucking poorly compared to like seeing a guy's dick off, seeing two guys from her town turned into stone, and being a part of this bachelor marriage. She starts out, calls him a liar, even though he didn't fucking lie to her. He just didn't tell her the whole situation. She overreacts so badly. And then the next day when she's gonna go to the ball, she's like, you better not send me a dress, because she's so petty, so whiny, so stupid. We are currently 100 pages away from the end of the book. Going to this ball in a dress that I think Leo picked out for her, she can't get away from the sound of the dildo claw inside her coochie. So she continues to wear that, even though it will go badly for her. Because this is the ball where we're going to do something very weird. As if everything in this book has been fucking normal up to this point. So when she's in the castle again, she's like, I wonder if I can hear that voice that I heard before, the voice that hasn't been relevant until now. And she goes and calls out, and then her father's voice responds. It was that easy to find him? Are you serious? And how does she know it's her father? We don't know. Don't ask questions. This isn't a questions book. We need to be on the same page about this, remember? And the only parting wisdom we get from her daddy before the connection is severed is don't trust the king. Which she's like, wait, I already know not to trust the human king. Which king are you talking about? And then like a Verizon ad, all of a sudden she's like, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? No, because apparently there's some kind of weird cell phone mental blockage, even though that makes no sense. So she does unblock her mental connection with Caspian to like tell him something. I don't remember what it was, but I really don't care. So we're going to move on. Oh, she tells him that he's not forgiven for having an ex-fiancé. Okay. And when she asks if he's going to apologize, he says, if that's what you want. If you guys have partners that are saying this type of shit when you want an apology, break up. Like, it's really not that hard to find someone. Well, okay, it is very hard to find someone in this day and age that, A, is a man, cis men especially, who think women are human beings. So I get that that's a little bit difficult, but like, don't settle. Just saying. Clearly, romantasy fans have zero ability to think logically, because the logic in these books are non-existent, and you guys seem to still like them. So my boyfriend is sending me video ideas because he cares about what I do as a hobby / passion / job. But once again, because this is basically erotica and not an actual romance book, and probably shouldn't be taken super seriously, instead of having like a conversation about past relationships and how those don't affect their current relationship, Caspian does the mature thing and sends a pulse to the dildo inside of her body. Remember that? Then, interrupting Cal, Leo pops up. And she has to his ass out because she's like, he asks her if she's enjoying the party, and she goes, no. I'd like to believe that Leo clocks what's going on, and he's like, well, we can go somewhere. It's totally fine. And she's like, I'm not going to your room. And then he rightly points out that he don't have to go to his room to get down and dirty. There is fan fiction written so much better than this. Why did you publish this? About this point, despite the fact that she was just really rude to him, she says, like, she starts feeling something for Leo, and it's strange because she tells him she can't give him her heart, but she can promise that it'll always be hers to give. It's a non-fucking sensical ass sentence. What do you mean? And so they start making out. Oh, by the way, they left the ballroom to go to a garden maze thing. Yeah. That hasn't been relevant until now. And that's when Leo slips his hand underneath her dress, and then he finds something between her legs. What's between her legs? Leo is like, what the fuck is this? Temperance is like, So he roughly yanks it out and throws it into the maze and is like, he might make you wet, but I'm gonna make you come. I don't get it. Bear in mind, he's like angry that she's just had this thing up her cooch this entire time, and you know what? It's a little disrespectful to just come in wearing a sex toy to a ball where you're in an active competition to be his fucking wife. Just saying. Prince understood that he was reprimanding her, forcing her to remember how good he could make her feel. I just feel like this is red pill content for women, and I don't like it. And I've read a bunch of this shit so far, and I have to ask, like, even the liberal women that read this and find it fun, like, what about it is fun to you? And do you not understand that it is taking you down into more conservative values under the pretext of this will make you horny? Like, there are really great erotica books. There's great erotica. There's bad erotica, too, if you just want to get your rocks off. But I don't know why you have to wrap it up in puritanical values to want to read it. I don't get it. She ends up in the final 3 women that all have to sleep with the prince, remember? Because duh. Gets drunk. She gets white girl wasted. And so she decides it's a good time to go off for a family reunion because apparently no one is watching her, despite the fact that she's in the final 3 people that might end up being married to the prince. So off she trots to go find her dad, and she's asking Caspian where he could possibly be in the castle. But if he knew that, why wouldn't he have gone and rescued her dad? Like, if he knew where he was, why wouldn't they have broken in and tried to rescue their fallen comrade who's being tortured for his very lucrative blood? So apparently bloodletting weakens a basilisk, which, wow, weirdly enough, if you end up taking blood from creatures for extended periods of time, that tends to make them weaker. Shocking! Very lackluster conversation with her father upon finding him, and there was no guards to speak of or any protections against a very strong creature. There's no emotion in this entire interaction, and he does explain that the king that she should fear is the basilisk king. I don't even remember why that's important, but apparently it is. Apparently this king only craves power, and power corrupts. Watched Spider-Man once and never thought about how privilege and power coincide with writing a colonial oppressor express romance, and I hope you don't mind that I'm just reading off my script at this point because I want to be done with this video so fucking bad. She ends up running into Maximus, despite the fact that she's definitely in an area she shouldn't be in, and he's like, I don't want you to marry my son, and she's like, okay, well that sucks for you, I guess. This segment ends with Leo showing up again and telling her that even if Caspi and her are in a fight, he doesn't want to win a race by default. As if that's flattering. And bear in mind, she's just only arguing with Caspian because of the fact that he had an ex-fiance. And Leo's like, well, I want a fair shot. Bitch, you weren't even gonna get a fair shot even if you actually were part of this threesome to begin with. You're not. You were never an option. Next chapter, she sequesters herself in her room with some servants and shit, and I don't even remember if there was a confirmation of her finding out that she was going to be staying in the castle. I knew that they were going to sleep together, but we don't have any introduction into anything that happens in this book. Caspian is like, come to me and be in my arms, all Nosferatu-like, and she's like, okay, bet, and I'm like, what the fuck, why? And then of course there's another Verizon ad of, can you hear me now, because telepathy is apparently real spotty in the castle. Apparently all that gold plating on the walls is just really hard for connections to get through. She ends up sneaking out of the fucking castle because it wouldn't look good if the prince's fiance was found sneaking out after dark. But she's not engaged to the prince yet, so why is she thinking like that? She's just Delulu on crack. She arrives to find Caspian completely fucking fine, even though of the crazy Verizon the crazy internet connection being spotty or whatever. And then she ends up having sex with him and it's boring, and then she goes back to the castle and she sleeps the day away because she's a lazy ass. She apparently doesn't even have a hobby. She's just hanging out doing nothing in the castle because now she doesn't have to do chores around the farm or something. And then Leo shows up again and is like, I got dinner. To which Temperance is like, good for you. And then Leo has to go, no, you're coming with me to fucking dinner, you fucking idiot. Put clothes on, you're my date. They go to a fancy dinner, and this book is not over yet. And the nobles are like, ew, she's a chicken farmer. You're the worst people on the planet. And Leo, once again, is here and is like, don't talk to her like that. You get him, champ. And then right afterward, they're discussing wedding shenanigans, and it's mentioned that the basilisks are supposed to attend the wedding. Remember, this is when they would supposedly do the thing where they could kill the royal family, right? And also by doing so, opening up the possibility that the whole human population would be decimated. That's a big word for Elmo. But we don't even pause to have a discussion about that because Temperance is like, we can't go to your room because then we'll have sex. Ma'am, you've been in caves. Why is this the point where you have to draw the line in the sand is the prince's bedroom? To which Leo is like, well, if I were to have sex with you, I would have to have your consent. Hasn't stopped him yet. But since you essentially revoked that, I won't even try unless you want me to. Bruh. So Temperance goes and talks to Adelaide about more unofficial, official, hybrid knowledge, and that is for her for having something other than being Caspian's ex-girlfriend. Adelaide tells her that Temperance's basilisk side is dying, which What do you mean? What do you mean it's dying? It's because of the crest, apparently. Which I was confused because being a hybrid seems like she could crest humans, but now apparently that doesn't make sense because the human part didn't get crested. But also if her basilisk side dies, Caspian dies, but she won't die because she's human. Murky. Badly written. Terrible. Unfortunate. Why in the nine hells did we do this? She has a tearful conversation with Caspian about what they're gonna do about this situation, and then just runs into Leo again, transporting through time and space like she can evaporate. And Leo is like, well, I was gonna break up with the other two girls in the competition, but it doesn't seem like you hold the same type of affection that I hold for you. He continues, you've always gotten the better end of this deal. You get to be queen. Isn't that what every little girl wants? We can't unpack that in this video. We don't have time. It's already too damn long. But of course, Temperance is like, not my dream. Even though she's dead been dreaming about being a rich lady this entire book. One question remains. Why has it taken her so long to sleep with Leo? We don't answer that here. I don't know why it was relevant at that point. But despite that declaration, Tim chooses at this point in time to reveal literally everything about what's going on with the basilisks to Leo. And according to the book, he apparently had no idea that his family had been torturing basilisks. Shut up. Like, even on face value, it is batshit stupid privilege to just never question where your family's wealth comes from. If you are so rich, you don't even have to ask where the money comes from, even a little bit. You're in the percentage that's like meant to be, sauteed and eaten. You know what I'm saying? Like, the reality of this is that he would most definitely know exactly where the gold comes from, but he wouldn't be into politics. That's the turnaround on this. Temperance tells him things need to change, and then Leo's like, but how? And Temperance straight up goes, I don't know, not my problem. I just like the fact that these books always have like a flavor of poverty or colonialism or, diversity. And then when the main character is asked to step up and do something about it, they fold like a chair because they don't have any idea how to do anything about it. That would take work on the author's part to actually interact with the themes that they're putting into these books. But no, we don't got time for that. My coffee is cold and I am upset. And to distract from the clearly poor writing decisions, Leo and Temperance bone. Once again, just ruining any kind of emotional interaction these two had so swiftly. And afterwards, Temperance is like, I don't hold you responsible for the actions of your ancestors, as if she has the ability to grant him that fucking privilege. So we will be talking about this exact thing very soon and again on the channel. I'm sure some of you may know what book I'm talking about, but I don't want to really go into this because I have lots to say on that matter, and we've already had too much going on in this video. Sorry that the camera moved, my cat was on. So Temperance thinks it's a great idea to bring Leo to Caspian after she told Leo literally everything. Caspian has the normal reaction to being confronted with the guy who is the heir to literally all of the bad shit that has ever happened in Caspian's, I hate that name, entire line of people. And he's rightfully mad that Temperance brought this guy to him. Mentioned the crest. So yeah, she didn't mention the crest. That's the whole MacGuffin of what she could possibly use to kill the royal family. So she told him about stuff that his people is doing, but she didn't tell him about the possibility of killing his whole family, which feels fucked up if you ask me. Like, she's gonna tell him about the fact that his family has been stealing blood from these basilisks, and that she is technically half white, half savage in this world, but she won't tell him about the secret power that she could use to kill his family. I feel like it's supposed to be giving that she's being secretive and being protective of herself and Caspian, but it's really just giving manipulative and gross. Almost kind of evil, to be honest, because what are you doing lulling this guy into this false sense of security that you're inviting him into your secret Batman group, but you're holding all the cards. You're holding the draw 4 for your last fucking card in Uno. What are you doing, my man? provides him with her venom out of context. That doesn't make any sense. And apparently I think Leo thinks they are getting married, because at some point he's like, well, what's the point of marrying you if I can't f you whenever I want? Leo says this. Not Caspian, Leo says this. After being personal favorite of mine this entire time, just because I thought he was like really just kind of getting the shit into the stick for the whole book, he says this, and that is something that I have had someone tell me very specifically to my face, and I find it to be grossly dehumanizing showing up here. And I know for a fact that you are supposed to still think that he's hot. So, that's crazy. True Sarah J. Maas fashion, the climax of the book happens in like 10 pages. There's like a fight, things are fine, Leo fucks off into the sunset, and we don't really have any clarification because there is more in this series, I'm assuming. But I'm not reading any more of this. This was painful. This was a drag. I didn't like doing this. I'm never going to think about this series ever again. There will be other things that I will definitely be talking about, specifically the threesome scene. I will definitely probably come back to that in a video. But until then, I will definitely see you guys in the next one. There will be an unfiltered version of this on Patreon, and I will see you next time. Put snake emojis down below in the comments, share this video, do everything you could possibly can if you've made it this far. I'm gonna go now, guys. Like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Bye!